Hey YouTube, Brandon here with Nixon Reptiles. So I did intend for my next video to be a comparison between Monarch and Ultramel. Unfortunately, that Monarch female was in shed, so I decided to cover a different topic today. In today's video, I want to go over what I like to consider when I'm adding another animal into the collection. Stephen and Courtney of Leviathan Snakes made a post over on Instagram a while back, and I thought that this would be a really interesting topic to cover. So first and foremost, they have to be a good example of the morph. For me, this is a big one because you want to start the project off with a good start. You don't want a poor example where you could potentially misidentify things. You want the best example to give you the best quality that you can possibly have. For example, it took me a while to find the perfect puzzles. A lot of the ones I looked at almost had more of an Enchi look to them than a puzzle look. I wanted a puzzle with a very thick outline around the saddles, and I wanted very pronounced alien heads and pattern, giving a lot of contrast. Puzzle is also one of those genes that works really well with pastel, so I didn't really mind if that was in there, as I know my eventual goal is to get puzzle into the Desert Ghost projects, as well as the Axanthic and the T-positive albinos, such as the Ultramel and the Monarch. And on that note, it has to be a gene that I can use to help expand my projects. So right now, everybody kind of has their panties in a bunch, saying that everything needs a recessive. And to an extent, I disagree with that, because you can oftentimes find a great example of an animal that may or may not carry a recessive that you do not intend to work with, so that way you can go your own direction. Which is why I snagged up this Cypress red stripe. They have an amazing pattern and a really unique color. And this female particularly is not het for anything, so I can go whatever direction that I want. And that's why I got this female. They have a very unique look, and quite frankly, I did not want a clown version. Despite popular belief, not everything has to go into clown or work well with clown. There are so many other options out there to create a really unique color or pattern variation. And I also want to go my own route. At the moment, I personally prefer the look of the cryptic or krypton animals. It allows a little bit of flexibility, and that's something that I can go into a little bit more in a video down the road. Something I cannot make myself with the animals that I currently own. Now, there are always going to be exceptions to this. Me personally, I like building out my own projects. The exception to this is if this other animal has another gene that you can fit within your project, or if it can help shorten the timeline for you getting that end result. For instance, this last season, I bred our sunset male to a pastel banana clown female, and boy did we get hosed on the odds. We got one female double het from that pairing. Now, it doesn't really make sense to me to breed one of the double het sunset clown males to that female when I can go out there and purchase a clown het for sunset male for a pretty reasonable price. And at that point, I'm also cutting my odds down considerably. Instead of a 1 in 16, I'm looking at a 1 in 8. So it's super beneficial. Another thing I look for is versatility. Now, this might be a little bit of a controversial idea or thought, but not everything also has to be multi-recessive or multi-codom. Not everything stacks well and not everything looks great together. You might remember the puzzle that I had shown earlier in this video. Now, that's a great animal all on its own. However, having base animals for other mutations, both color or pattern, whatever, I have multiple females of, say, an Ultramel or an Axanthic or a Desert Ghost. And I now have those animals that are adults, proven breeders, that I can take a new male into, produce my own double hets that carry a codom or whatever. Having those females on the shelf is going to be huge and help you produce key pieces to help grow your collection, both now and in the future. The same could be said for having super forms of various projects. There are so many great super forms that do not produce a blank animal, such as the super gravel, the super chocolate, as well as the super blackhead. You can have these animals in your collection to know exactly what the babies are when you produce them, without fear of pairing them later down the road and producing a solid black or a solid white animal. I imagine it would be very easy to have yellow belly and two animals not know it, and then magically you're producing an ivory. That's not a situation that I want to find myself in. Something you actually like. I know, sounds crazy, isn't it? This is often stated and really quite simple to follow. If you don't like a project, you shouldn't be into it just because it's popular. Fortunately or unfortunately, there are many great projects out there. With that said, what do you consider when you are getting into a new project or picking up a new animal? Check out the link in the description to view our morph market and to find something for a new or existing project. Also find us on Instagram at Nixon Reptiles. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.